There's a moment when she stares at you, waiting for your reaction. That instant where you feel her gaze evaluating you, where the air seems to thicken, where every word you say will define how she perceives you. It's that moment where most men make the most costly mistake in the game of attraction. 99% respond with desperation disguised as interest. Immediate texts, lengthy explanations, transparent attempts to impress, nervous laughter to lighten the tension. On the surface, they seem attentive, but what they convey is pure need, a need she can smell from a mile away. And it's precisely in that instant where they lose all their value in her eyes. Because every anxious explanation, every urgent message, every desperate attempt is a silent declaration. Your validation is worth more than my dignity. And once you surrender that power, it's almost impossible to get back. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why true magnetism works exactly the opposite of what you've been taught. You'll understand the psychological mistake that makes you seem weak even when you're extraordinary. You'll discover the exact technique that works in any interaction with women who are truly worth your time. And finally, the complete system that transforms your presence into irresistible. Because here's the truth no one has the guts to tell you. The one who chases, repels. The one who attracts, doesn't even move. If this has already made you question something, hit that like button now, and let's go. Think of magnetism as the perfect metaphor. Most believe that to attract something, you have to move towards it, chase it, reach for it. But physics shows us the opposite. A powerful magnet doesn't chase metal. It simply exists with such force that the metal has no choice but to draw near. And it's precisely this kind of natural attraction that we're going to build within you today. Let me explain exactly what the problem is that no one has pointed out to you. Entire society programmed you from childhood with a completely wrong model of how female attraction works. Movies, music, even well-meaning advice from your family sold you a huge lie. That to win a woman over, you must chase her, show her constant interest, always be available, and basically become her #1 fan. The average man follows this model to the letter. He texts her immediately after meeting her, responds to her messages in seconds, is available whenever she suggests, cancels plans with friends if she suggests getting together, accepts any condition to be near her. The result is predictable. Initial interest from her quickly cools down until it becomes, "I see you as a friend," or she simply disappears. The strategic man understands the true dynamic. He maintains his center. He responds when he can do so mindfully, not out of anxious impulse. He has a structured life that he doesn't disrupt for anyone. He proposes, he doesn't ask. The result? She feels genuine curiosity, intrigue, and something she can't explain, but that keeps her thinking about him. This difference in behavior seems small on the surface, but the consequences are enormous and accumulate over time. In weeks, the average man becomes a predictable presence, comfortable but without mystery. In months, his perceived value has dropped so much that any other man with a minimum of mystery seems more attractive. In years, he finds himself perpetually in relationships where he gives far more than he receives. But why does this happen? Why does it work exactly the opposite of what seems logical? The answer lies in deeper female psychology, in something that goes beyond culture or education. It's in their evolutionary nature. Over millennia, women developed the ability to detect real value versus fake value. They can sense, almost like a sixth sense, when a man is acting from true abundance versus scarcity disguised as interest. It's like a biological lie detector. When you behave with too much interest, too much availability, too much complacence, you're not demonstrating genuine love or attention as you believe. You're unconsciously activating her internal alarm that says, "This man has no options. He's chasing me because he can't attract naturally." Imagine water in a river. It naturally flows downhill, following its course with ease. You'll never see water struggling to climb a mountain. In the same way, genuine attraction flows naturally, without visible effort. When they see you trying too hard, something in the female subconscious detects that you're going against nature. Has it happened to you that when you're truly busy with your life, focused on your goals, with no time to chase women, that's when you receive the most female attention? Or that time after a difficult breakup, when you decided you wanted nothing to do with relationships, suddenly several women started seeking you out? Or have you noticed that your friends who worry least about impressing women are the ones who have the most success with them? Do you remember when you were so focused on a project that you forgot to respond to texts for hours, and suddenly she texted you again showing more interest? Or that time you went out with friends without posting anything on social media, and the next day she appeared, indirectly asking where you were, or when you simply stopped trying with someone you liked, and they magically started pursuing you. It's like the paradox of control. The more you try to control something delicate like sand, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you open your hand and simply hold it without pressure, the sand remains still in your palm. The insecure man shows his cards too soon, reveals all his interest immediately, eliminating any mystery or challenge. The strategic man understands the power of space, of silence, of calibrated absence that creates presence in the female mind. Desperate conquest not only costs you external attraction but something far more valuable, your internal peace. Every time you act from a place of need, something inside you knows it. Your subconscious registers that you're surrendering your power. Your self-esteem suffers small, imperceptible blows that accumulate. You get used to begging for attention instead of naturally commanding it. This internal erosion is the true hidden cost no one calculates. The average man lives glued to his phone, interpreting every word, feeling anxious when she doesn't respond, experiencing emotional roller coasters based on external validation. The magnetic man lives from his center, stable, connected to his purpose, without his emotional state depending on external signals. But identifying the problem is just the first step. Now I'm going to show you exactly what to do, step by step, in 3 specific situations you'll face this week with women you're truly interested in. The core technique that completely transforms your ability to attract is called calibrated magnetic presence. It's not complicated, but it requires understanding the deep psychology behind it. First, you identify your personal power center, that which gives you stability regardless of external factors. This could be your purpose, your work, your passions, or personal projects. This creates the foundation of your magnetic field. Second, you practice total presence in every interaction. No dividing your attention, no anxiety about what you'll say next, no seeking validation. When you're with her, you're completely with her. Quality over quantity. Third, you implement strategic spaces, intervals where your physical presence withdraws but remains psychologically. Fourth, you cultivate the art of intentional mystery, not for manipulation, but out of self-respect and the understanding that you don't need to completely reveal yourself to be valued. Most act from the anxiety of losing, from the fear that she'll find someone else, from constant insecurity. You will act from the security of your value, from the certainty of your magnetic field, from the calm of someone who doesn't need to chase, because the one who chases themselves in circles. Let's apply this in 3 scenarios you'll surely recognize. Imagine you've just met an interesting woman at a party or event. You exchanged contacts and now you have her number. Most men make the classic mistake. They text her that same night or first thing the next day with a transparently anxious message. Hey, it was great meeting you. How are you doing? Or, did you get home safe? When can we meet up? They seem like innocent messages, but they communicate. I have nothing more important in my life than you, a complete stranger. What happens next is predictable. Short replies, increasingly long delays, excuses not to meet up, leading to eventual ghosting. Desperate chasing has killed any curiosity she might have had. You, on the other hand, apply magnetic presence. You wait at least a full day, ideally 2, not to play games, but because you actually have a busy, purposeful life. When you text, your message is concrete and with personality. Your comment about specific topic you discussed got me thinking about interesting connection. I'll be at specific place on specific day. Join me at 7. You notice the fundamental difference. You don't ask, you propose. You don't seek validation. You offer an experience. You don't show anxiety, you show direction. She can feel the difference immediately, even if she can't articulate it. She'll respond with more interest, more curiosity, more emotional investment. Because the one who doesn't chase intrigues. The one who proposes leads. Second scenario. You've been out a couple of times and things are going well. This is where 90% of men sabotage everything they've built. They start being constantly available, responding in seconds, canceling important commitments for her, and basically communicating, I've already put you on a pedestal you can't get off of. The average man becomes predictable. He texts her good morning and good night religiously. He informs her of his every move. He asks for permission for personal decisions. He transforms into a satellite orbiting around her. The result? She starts to feel like something isn't right. that it's too good to be true, or simply too intense. The attraction fades without apparent explanation. The magnetic man keeps his orbit intact. He remains attentive and present, but doesn't sacrifice his center. When he's with her, he's 100% present. No looking at his phone every 5 minutes, no divided attention. But he also keeps his personal spaces sacred. If he has training on Tuesdays and Thursdays, those days remain untouchable. If he needs to concentrate on a project, he disconnects without excessive apologies. I loved our time together. I'll be focused on my project until Thursday. I'll reach out then about that exhibit you mentioned. The result is paradoxical but consistent. She values time with you more precisely because it's not guaranteed. She respects you more because you respect your own boundaries. And attraction increases because you remain a complete individual, not an extension of her desires. Because the one who remains whole attracts. The one who fragments begs. Third scenario, social media and digital communication, where most men destroy their value without realizing it. In the digital world, your behavior is magnified and documented. Every like, every comment, every message tells a story about your level of interest and abundance. The average man reacts to every story she posts, comments on every photo within minutes, responds to every message instantly. He believes he's showing interest, but he's communicating obsession and lack of options. In the female algorithm, this behavior automatically classifies you as easily available, interesting for validation, not for attraction. The magnetic man understands the economy of digital attention. He knows that in a world where everyone competes to comment first, true power lies in strategic selectivity. He doesn't react to everything, only to what genuinely impresses him. He doesn't respond instantly. He responds when he can give full attention. He isn't constantly available online. He has a life that happens off-screen. I saw your post about specific topic. It reminded me of relevant connection. By the way, I'll be offline for a few days due to interesting project. Talk when I get back. The result? While other men pile up in her notifications, you occupy a different space in her mind. You're not part of the noise. You're the clear signal that stands out. Because the one who is everywhere is nowhere. The one who appears selectively becomes memorable. But pay attention. There are 3 common mistakes you must avoid when applying this mindset. The first is confusing magnetism with total indifference. This happens when you understand the concept but take it to the opposite extreme, becoming completely cold or inaccessible. The result is that she simply assumes there's no interest and moves on. The correction is calibration. It's not about not showing interest, but about showing it from abundance, not from need. The second mistake is emotional inconsistency. Many men alternate between being completely distant and then intensely available, depending on how they feel that day or how she responds. This roller coaster conveys instability, not strategy. A woman can feel the difference between a man who controls his emotional investment strategically and one who simply reacts impulsively. To avoid this, maintain a consistent level of calibrated emotional investment. The third mistake, the most subtle yet potentially devastating, using these techniques as a mask for insecurity. Many adopt high-value behaviors not from real abundance, but to hide their fear of rejection. This creates a dissonance that women can intuitively sense. If you notice you're acting from fear disguised as strategy, stop and reconnect with your intrinsic worth first. These principles work perfectly on the surface. But there's a much deeper level that completely changes how we understand true attraction and conquest. A truth that contradicts everything we've been taught. Entire society is built on a fundamentally flawed premise that female attraction works like an achievement you gain through specific external actions. You were taught that if you say the right words, if you have the right job, if you follow the right steps, you'll win her attraction like someone wins a trophy. This achievement mindset is the first level of understanding, where most people stop. Do X, Y, Z, and you'll get the girl. It's transactional, mechanical, superficial. The second level is understanding that it's not your specific actions, but the energy behind those actions that generates true attraction. It's not what you do, but how you do it, and from where you do it. This is where some men begin to awaken. But the deepest level, the one that completely transforms your experience with women, is this. Genuine attraction is not something you build externally, but something you release from within. It's not a technique you apply, but a frequency you emit when you remove the blocks that prevent you from being your authentic, powerful self. The counterintuitive truth is that women aren't attracted to what you do to impress them, but to who you are when you're not trying to impress anyone. It's not effort that attracts, it's the absence of effort from a place of internal fullness. It's like the bamboo in our magnetism metaphor. Unlike other trees that constantly grow upwards seeking light, bamboo first develops an extensive deep root system. For years, nothing apparently happens on the surface, but when it finally emerges, it grows at incredible speeds because its foundation is indestructible. Because the one who builds their internal value doesn't need to prove it externally. Evidence of this truth is everywhere once you know how to recognize it. Have you noticed how the most attractive men to women are rarely the ones who try hardest to be so? They are the ones with a consuming passion, a guiding purpose, an unbreakable inner conviction. Their attractiveness is a byproduct of their completeness as men, not the primary goal of their actions. Think of that friend who has inexplicable success with women. He's probably not the best looking, nor the richest, nor even the one who knows the most pickup techniques. What he has is something more valuable: magnetic authenticity. He doesn't pretend. He doesn't visibly try. He simply exists in his truth, and that generates an attraction no technique can replicate. Women describe him as having something. I don't know what it is, but I'm attracted to him. He has a special energy. What they're really detecting is the absence of need, the presence of a man complete within himself. Have you experienced moments in your life where, paradoxically, when you stop trying to get a woman to like you, that's precisely when she liked you most? Or when you were so connected to your purpose that you didn't even have time to think about conquest, and suddenly you had more romantic options than ever? That's not an accident or a coincidence. It's the law of magnetism working perfectly. You've seen the difference between how you feel trying to impress versus how you feel simply being your best self without expectations. In the first case, there's tension, anxiety, constant measurement of results. In the second, there's fluidity, freedom, natural power. And women can feel that difference instantly, even if you think you're hiding it well. When you truly internalize this truth, it not only changes your outward behavior, but your entire internal experience. You no longer see conquest as something you do, but as something you are. You don't chase attraction, you radiate it. You don't seek validation, you generate validation around you. You know you've mastered this principle when techniques become unnecessary. You don't need to remind yourself to respond later or show less interest. Your authenticity, aligned with your personal power, makes these behaviors flow naturally. You don't feign strategic disinterest. You're simply genuinely interested first in your purpose and then in connections that add to that purpose. Women start pursuing you without you doing anything specific to provoke it. You find yourself rejecting more options than you accept. The dynamics reverse. They initiate conversations, propose plans, seek your attention, and all without manipulation, without artificial techniques, simply because you've reached a state of being that is naturally magnetic. Conquest no longer feels like work or effort. It feels like a natural dance where your only responsibility is to stay centered in your power and enjoy the process. Anxiety disappears because you know your value isn't determined by her response. The master of personal magnetism doesn't try to be attractive. He simply removes everything that blocks his natural attractiveness. He doesn't add layers, he peels away the false ones. He doesn't build a persona, he reveals his authentic self. Because the one who tries to impress perspires. The one who simply is inspires. Now that you understand this deep truth, it's time to transform this understanding into a practical system you can implement immediately. I'm going to give you 3 specific tools, a 7-day plan, and the complete roadmap to becoming a naturally magnetic man. The first tool is called strategic detachment. Don't confuse this with indifference or coldness. It's much more sophisticated. It's the ability to keep your emotional center independent of external outcomes. It works like this. When you interact with a woman you're interested in, you mentally step back and observe your emotional reactions as if they belong to someone else. Do you feel anxiety when she doesn't respond? Euphoria when she shows interest? Dependence on her validation? This constant self-monitoring allows you to adjust your emotional investment in real time. For example, when you feel the urge to send a third message because she hasn't replied, strategic detachment allows you to recognize this comes from a place of need, not abundance, and redirect your energy towards something productive in your life. The effect is immediate. Your communication becomes naturally more attractive because it comes from a place of choice, not need. She perceives it as a different presence that she can't explain but can definitely feel. The second tool is the magnetic void. In physics, nature abhors a vacuum and works to fill it. In human psychology, it works the same way. When you create a calibrated empty space, not too large that she forgets your existence, not too small to be insignificant, you activate in her an almost irresistible impulse to fill it with her attention. It works like this. After a positive encounter or a conversation where you feel her interest, you completely withdraw your presence for a specific period, not to play games, but to allow the impact of your presence to resonate in your absence. You don't disappear out of insecurity or as a punishment, but out of respect for your own time and energy. For example, after an excellent date where the connection was clear, instead of bombarding her with messages the next day, you focus completely on your projects for 48 hours. When you reconnect, you do so with clear purpose. I was thinking about what you said about significant topic. I have an idea for our next meetup. The effect is powerful. While other men saturate her attention, your calibrated presence and absence create a rhythm that generates intrigue and a desire for more connection. The third tool, the most powerful yet subtle, is brave authenticity. It's the ability to show your unfiltered truth when appropriate, even when that truth could potentially scare her away. It seems contradictory to everything above, and therein lies its power. It works like this. In strategic moments, when other men are calculating what to say to please, you express your truth unapologetically, not as a provocation or to create conflict, but because your authenticity is non-negotiable. For example, when she mentions something you fundamentally disagree with, instead of nodding to please, you state directly, "My perspective is different. I believe your truth," without aggressiveness, without needing to convince, just pure clarity. The effect is transformative. In a sea of men who say what they think she wants to hear, your authenticity shines like a lighthouse. Paradoxically, this willingness to lose her by being authentic is exactly what makes it less likely you'll lose her. Because the one who fears losing has already lost. The one who is willing to walk away rarely has to. Now let's implement these tools into a specific 7-day plan that will transform your personal magnetic field. For the first 2 days, your sole focus will be strategic detachment. Don't try to implement everything at once, just this one tool. Every time you feel the urge to seek female validation, whether by sending a message, checking if she's seen your story, or indirectly asking friends about her, stop and redirect that energy towards something productive. This could be work, working out, a hobby, or any activity that builds your personal value. What you'll notice, the first day will be uncomfortable, almost painful. Your brain is accustomed to the dopamine hit of external validation. On the second day, you'll start to feel a strange sense of power and freedom. Your focus will improve, your productivity will increase, and curiously, you'll likely receive unexpected messages precisely because your energy is no longer dispersed in seeking validation. For days 3 and 4, while maintaining strategic detachment, you add the magnetic void. Now you're operating with 2 tools simultaneously. When you have positive interactions with a woman you're interested in, instead of making her the center of your attention, you intentionally create space. Not out of manipulation, but out of respect for your own time and focus. If you would normally respond immediately, wait a few hours, focused on something valuable. If you would normally be tracking her online activity, disconnect for a specific period. If you would normally suggest meeting up immediately, set a definite time in the future. Here the game visibly changes because you're breaking established patterns. You'll notice that your anxiety significantly decreases, that the responses you receive have more energy and investment, and that the general dynamic begins to subtly reverse. If you feel a strange discomfort about not doing enough, it's a sign that it's working. You're challenging deep neurological patterns. Days 5, 6, and 7 are about refining and integrating brave authenticity along with the other tools. Now you're operating with the complete system. In interactions where you previously would have adapted to please, you express your truth with calm and confidence. When differences of opinion arise, you address them directly instead of avoiding them. When your personal boundaries are tested, you maintain them firmly but without aggression. Specifically observe how women react to this combination of detachment, calibrated space, and brave authenticity. You'll notice some pull away. These are the ones who were looking for someone manipulative. But the ones who are worthwhile will draw closer, show more respect, more genuine curiosity, more investment in truly getting to know you. At this point, you'll start to feel a profound shift in the overall dynamic with women. It's not imagination or coincidence. It's the direct result of operating from a place of genuine abundance, not disguised scarcity, but maximum attention now. Because there are 3 critical mistakes that can undo everything you've built in minutes. Mistake number 1 is mechanical implementation without internal transformation. It seems like you're following the guidelines, but in reality, you're just acting without fundamentally changing your mindset. This manifests especially when you get initial positive results and immediately revert to old patterns of need. Women can sense this incongruity instantly, like a biological lie detector. The immediate consequence, confusion and distrust. The long-term consequence, being labeled as acting cool but actually insecure. The correction is to ensure that every external action reflects a genuine internal change. The second mistake is reactive overcompensation. This occurs when you go from being overly available to completely inaccessible, from showing too much interest to feigning total indifference. This happens especially after painful experiences or rejections. You confuse being magnetic with being distant. Women perceive it as emotional immaturity or fear, not strength. To avoid it, implement the principles gradually, calibrating based on real response, not in reaction to past experiences. The third mistake, the most insidious, using these tools as techniques to gain validation instead of expressions of your intrinsic worth. The difference is subtle but crucial. When you use detachment, space, and authenticity as manipulation to get validation, you're operating from the same scarcity, just with more sophisticated techniques. If you notice that your emotional state still depends completely on her response, if you feel devastated when the strategy doesn't work, if you celebrate excessively when it does work, it's a clear sign of this mistake. True transformation occurs when these tools are natural expressions of your inner value, not techniques to prove it. Because true magnetism isn't what you do to attract, but who you are when you don't need to attract anyone. And before concluding, there's something fundamental I need to share with you about this entire process. Something that will differentiate whether you truly transform your life or just consume another piece of content. Let's recap, but not like a boring summary. I'll give you the 4 pillars that now define your new way of interacting with women. First pillar, the need for external validation is the silent killer of your natural attractiveness. Every time you act from seeking female approval, you reduce your magnetic field, no matter how much you try to hide it. Second pillar, true magnetism arises from calibrated presence. Being completely present when you're with her, and comfortably absent when you're not, creates a rhythm of connection that no artificial technique can replicate. Third pillar, genuine attraction is not something you build externally with specific actions, but something you release from within by eliminating patterns of need and emotional scarcity. Fourth pillar, the complete system of strategic detachment, magnetic void, and brave authenticity transforms not only how women perceive you, but your internal experience of interacting with them. These 4 pillars are not theory. They are the architecture of your new personal magnetic field. Because the one who seeks to be chosen will be evaluated. The one who chooses will be desired. Now comes your challenge, and it starts exactly now. In the next 24 hours, not tomorrow, not next week, a situation will arise with a woman you're interested in. It could be someone you already know, someone new who will appear, or even a digital interaction. When this happens, and you'll know exactly when, because you'll feel that familiar urge to seek validation or approval, I want you to apply the strategic detachment I showed you. Not a watered-down or half-hearted version, the full version. You don't need to announce that you're trying something new. You don't need to explain it to anyone. Simply observe that impulse for validation, acknowledge it internally, and then consciously redirect that energy towards something that builds your personal value. Because when you do this, 3 things will happen. First, you'll feel an immediate freedom you may not have experienced in years. Second, you'll notice a subtle but undeniable change in how she responds to you. And third, you'll start attracting situations and people who previously seemed out of reach. This is your moment of truth, your opportunity to prove, not to me, not to her, but to yourself, that this isn't abstract theory but a reality you can live. And after you implement it, come back here and tell me specifically how the dynamic changed. I want to know exactly what you noticed differently in yourself and in her response. And now, the password. If you've truly made it this far and haven't just skimmed through the video, comment these exact words. Magnetism doesn't chase, it attracts. This isn't just a comment, it's identification, it's code. It shows that you're not part of that 99% who consume and forget. You're part of the magnetics. Men who understand that their power isn't in chasing, but in cultivating an irresistible field of attraction. This is our password, our protocol. I'll read every comment and know exactly who understood and who just skimmed. Comment now. And since you made it to the end, there's something I intentionally didn't mention. In the next video, I'll show you how this same principle of personal magnetism applies to the most critical and misunderstood phase, long-term commitment and retention, because attracting is just the first step. It involves a concept I call strategic scarcity within abundance, and it explains why so many men manage to attract quality women, but then inexplicably lose them. But that's a topic for our next meeting. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. The next video comes out this Friday. Remember the magnetism metaphor I mentioned at the beginning? It wasn't just about initial attraction. True magnetism has another fascinating property. Once it attracts something, it holds it in its field without apparent effort, without struggle, without visible tension. Now you understand. It's not about techniques or tactics. It's about transforming your energetic frequency. You are no longer the man who chases validation. You are the man who generates validation around him simply by the strength of his personal field. And when you finally operate from this place of authentic power, the female world responds not to what you do, but to who you are. The magnet doesn't convince the metal, it simply attracts it. Now go and reveal who you've always been.